Tonight, the head of Russia's private militia, the Wagner Group, says they have full control of the Ukrainian town of Soledar. A Ukrainian military command statement contradicts the claims and says fighting is still going on. Taking the town in the eastern Donbas region would likely put Russia on track to encircling neighboring Bakhmut, which it's been trying to capture for months now.
Another salvo launched at Ukrainian trenches. In their months-long campaign to take the city of Bakhmut, Russian forces have concentrated their firepower on the nearby town of Soledar. They are claiming progress.
Airborne units have blocked Soledar from the northern and southern parts of the city. Russia's air force is targeting enemy strongholds. Stormtroops are fighting in the city.
The assault is led by the Wagner Group, mercenaries under the command of Putin ally Yevgeny Prigozhin. Prigozhin has released this picture of him in a salt mine near Soledar and claims that the town is surrounded. But Ukraine denies that Soledar is lost and points to Russian losses.
We see an absolutely irresponsible, to put it mildly, attitude of the Russian elite towards their military personnel. They die there by the thousands. A lot of blood, a lot of artillery duels, a lot of contact combat, especially in Soledar today. This is the hottest point in the war today.
The Ukrainians are mounting a stiff resistance. Here, a German-supplied howitzer is battering Russian positions before shifting location. Shoot and scoot along a slow-moving front line. The deadly impact of such high-precision strikes is captured by a drone used by Ukrainian soldiers in Soledar to acquire targets. The Russian unit comes under fire and is forced to withdraw after heavy losses. With Ukrainians determined to fight for every inch of territory, Russia will pay a high price for any progress on the battlefield.
And our correspondent, Sonia Falnikar, joins us now from Kyiv. Sonia, conflicting reports there about the situation in Soledar. Do you have a clear picture of what's going on?
Well, the Ukrainian military says that the fight for Soledar is continuing. It says its forces are very much holding out and that they're putting up stiff resistance. But of course, defense officials here have acknowledged the intensity of the fighting in Soledar. They've called it a challenging and a very difficult situation. We're also seeing a lot of images on Ukrainian social media about the ongoing fighting. Buildings reduced to complete shells, plumes of smoke rising up in the sky. Photographers on the ground there speaking of the situation there as a living hell. And I think for Ukraine, the fighting in Soledar and in and around Bakhmut, which has also inflicted heavy losses on their own troops, has become something of a national symbol of defiance. Today President Zelensky in his daily address said the fight for Soledar is continuing, and he kind of rebutted Russian claims that they had gained some success in the area. He said the Donetsk front is very much holding and that everything is being done really to strengthen Ukraine's defenses.
Soledar is seen as a gateway to Bakhmut, and both sides, you just mentioned it there, have suffered huge losses in the fight over Bakhmut. It's being called the bloodiest battle of the war. Why the fixation on that place in particular?
Right. Bakhmut is just, 10 kilometers south of Soledar. And Bakhmut is the site in the eastern Donetsk region where, Ukrainian forces have been really locked in a bloody pitched battle with Russian forces, but also with fighters of the Russian mercenary group, the Wagner Group. They've been locked in battle since last summer, and we've seen really kind of brutal combat fighting in that area. Now, for Russia, capturing, Bakhmut is important because it has made Bakhmut something of a centerpiece in its kind of broader push and its broader campaign to kind of occupy the entire Donbas region. Now, analysts have also been saying that, capturing Bakhmut would also open up a path for Russia to get closer to other more important cities in the area like Kramatorsk and Sloviansk, which are in Ukrainian hands. And I think the main reason for Russia capturing Bakhmut would be really important because it would hand Russia a significant success after really months of humiliating military defeats.
We often talk about the Wagner Group when we talk about Bakhmut. Can you tell us about the role of the mercenaries in the fight there?
Well, the Wagner Group is a private Russian mercenary group. It has recruited a lot of prisoners from Russia within its ranks, and it's played an absolutely leading role in that offensive in the east, in and around Bakhmut. Now, they are known for their brutal tactics. You know, experts here have described their fighters as really cannon fodder being sent to the front lines. And the founder of this group is a Russian billionaire businessman, Yevgeny Prigozhin. He is a close associate of Russian President Vladimir Putin. And analysts have said that for him, you know, capturing Bakhmut, he views it as a kind of a trophy to kind of, you know, boost his own political standing back home in Russia.
DW, Sonia Falnikar in Kyiv, thank you so much for that update. And Poland says it's willing to supply Ukraine with Leopard battle tanks, but only as part of a wider international coalition. The statement came during a visit by Polish President Andrzej Duda to Lviv, where he met Volodymyr Zelensky. The comments increase pressure now on Germany to find consensus with Western allies on arming Ukraine with the heavy weapons Kyiv considers are vital to win the war.
These are the German-made Leopard 2 battle tanks Ukraine desperately wants and needs. Until now, no Western country has given such advanced battle tanks to help the Ukrainian military. Ukraine's Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba remains optimistic that Berlin will eventually relent.
I have no doubt that Ukraine will obtain German Leopard tanks, because deep down the German government knows they're necessary.
But German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has been digging his heels in, saying he doesn't want his country to go it alone in delivering the tanks for fear of escalating the conflict. The heavy Leopard 2s, equipped with a cannon and a state-of-the-art defense system and armor, would be a big boost to Ukrainian forces. The German government's argument of not wanting to act alone would be harder to maintain if Britain does decide to go ahead and deliver its own Challenger 2 tanks. Ally nations have been pressuring Berlin to allow them to send Leopard 2 tanks from their own stocks. Without the approval of the manufacturing country Germany, other nations can't supply them to Ukraine. Among them is Poland, which wants to send Leopard 2s as part of an international coalition. Currently, around 2,000 Leopard 2 tanks are in service in 13 European countries. Calls to supply the Leopard 2s are growing louder, not only from other countries, but also from European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen.
I have said many times since the beginning of Russia's invasion in Ukraine that I think that Ukraine should get all the necessary military equipment they need and they can handle to defend their homeland.
With the final decision on the Leopard 2s in Germany's hands, Ukraine's Kuleba has warned that Berlin's refusal is costing lives.
So the pressure on Germany is rising. Lots to talk about here. Let's bring in DW political correspondent Catherine Lankes for that. Catherine, Poland needs Berlin's approval before it can send German-made tanks into Ukraine. Is it likely to get the green light?
Well, as you said, Poland can't move at its own will. Germany needs to approve if a country that has the German-manufactured Leopards wants to send it elsewhere. And for now, everything's been a bit cryptic. As we've heard today, the Polish president spoken about an international coalition. It's not entirely clear what he specifically means by that. And on the other hand, also the German government this afternoon said that they won't probably change their stance on delivering Leopards or agreeing to deliver Leopards, and that they haven't received any official requests to deliver Leopards yet either. So they said they will stick with their line at least up until January the 20th, when NATO allies will meet at the US airbase here in Germany at Ramstein. So we don't yet have many details, but what we do know is that Poland actually has quite a considerable number of Leopard 2 tanks and Leopard 2 tanks at their disposal. They have more than 200, and the Polish president said that they would like to send one company, which we think is about 15 tanks as a first package to Ukraine. And what they certainly are doing with this is mounting the pressure on Germany with asking for that approval, at least indirectly.
We've seen this before, haven't we? That Germany is kind of reluctant to make a move until somebody else takes the first step. What are Germany's arguments against sending battle tanks into Ukraine?
Well, Germany so far has been very careful, as you're saying, with everything that's been delivered. They've recently agreed to deliver the light battle tanks, the Marder tanks. So it's not completely ruled out that they might send Leopard 2 at some point. That's also what the Vice Chancellor, Robert Habeck, said a few days ago. So far, even the governing coalition hasn't been agreeing on whether to deliver heavy battle tanks like the Leopard 2 to Ukraine. The Greens and the Liberal FDP always seem to be more vocal, push a little more to deliver those tanks, but the governing party, with the governing party, the SPD, the Socialists, Scholz's party, they seem to be a little more hesitant, saying that they don't want to move unilaterally. They want to move in close coordination with the NATO allies and Germany's friends on that question. So we will see what the further debate and the movement that has gotten into the debate will now bring.
A lot to sort out at home and abroad. Catherine Lankes, many thanks.